In episode 6 of the Netflix show Outer Banks, titled Parcel 9, John B. and his friends face new challenges and dangers as they continue their search for the treasure. The episode begins with the Pogues discovering a hidden underground tunnel that they believe might lead them to the treasure. However, they must first navigate the dangerous and unpredictable environment of the tunnel, which includes hidden traps and obstacles. As the group moves deeper into the tunnel, tensions rise between them as they struggle to deal with their individual fears and motivations. JJ, in particular, is haunted by his troubled past and his relationship with his abusive father, which affects his ability to focus on the task at hand. Meanwhile, Sarah continues to struggle with her conflicting loyalties as she tries to balance her feelings for John B. with her duty to her family. She also faces new challenges when her brother Rafe becomes increasingly unpredictable and dangerous due to his drug addiction. As the episode progresses, the Pogues discover a valuable clue that leads them to a shipment of gold that they believe is connected to the treasure. However, their plan to retrieve the gold is complicated by the arrival of new players, including Ward Cameron and the police. The episode ends with the Pogues narrowly escaping the police and other dangers, and they continue their search for the treasure, fueled by their determination and the valuable clues they have gathered. Overall, Episode 6 of Outer Banks continues to build the tension and suspense surrounding the treasure hunt, while also exploring the personal struggles and conflicts of the characters. The episode also introduces new complications and dangers, which make the audience eager to see what happens next. In Episode 7 of the Netflix show Outer Banks, titled Dead Calm, John B. and his friends face new obstacles and challenges as they continue their search for the treasure. The episode begins with John B. and Sarah going on a romantic boat ride, but their date is cut short when they encounter a group of dangerous strangers who are also looking for the treasure. The group of strangers takes John B. and Sarah captive, and they are forced to reveal the location of the key to the treasure map. Meanwhile, JJ and Kiara team up to try to rescue John B. and Sarah, but they face their own set of challenges and dangers, including a dangerous encounter with the local police. As the episode progresses, John B. and Sarah manage to escape from their captors, but they are forced to go on the run and find themselves stranded on a deserted island. While on the island, they must rely on their survival skills to stay alive and find a way off the island. At the same time, JJ and Kiara continue their search for John B. and Sarah, and they receive help from an unexpected ally, Pope's father. Together, they hatch a plan to rescue their friends and continue their search for the treasure. The episode ends with John B. and Sarah being rescued and the Pogues coming together to continue their quest for the treasure, despite the many dangers and obstacles they face. Overall, Episode 7 of Outer Banks continues to build the suspense and drama surrounding the treasure hunt, while also exploring the personal relationships between the characters and their individual struggles and challenges. The episode ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the audience eager to see what happens next. In Episode 8 of the Netflix show Outer Banks, titled The Runway, John B. and his friends face new challenges and dangers as they continue their search for the treasure. The episode begins with the Pogues discovering a plane wreckage on the beach, which they believe might be connected to the treasure. They decide to investigate the wreckage, but they must first deal with a group of rival treasure hunters who also want to claim the treasure. As the Pogues investigate the wreckage, they discover new clues that lead them to a hidden runway in the nearby marshes. The runway is connected to the plane wreckage and appears to be connected to the treasure, but they must first find a way to access the runway and avoid the dangers of the marsh. Meanwhile, the relationship between John B. and Sarah continues to grow, but they must also navigate their conflicting loyalties and the dangers of their situation. Sarah's family, including her father Ward and her brother Rafe, become increasingly suspicious of her involvement with the Pogues and the treasure hunt. As the episode progresses, the Pogues successfully access the runway and discover a valuable clue that leads them to a new location where they believe the treasure is located. However, their plans are once again complicated by the arrival of new players, including the police and Ward's associates. The episode ends with the Pogues narrowly escaping the dangers of the runway and continuing their search for the treasure, while also dealing with the personal challenges and conflicts that threaten to tear them apart. Overall, Episode 8 of Outer Banks continues to build the suspense and action surrounding the treasure hunt, while also exploring the personal relationships and challenges of the characters. The episode ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the audience eager to see what happens next. In episode 9 of the Netflix show Outer Banks, titled The Bell Tower, John B. and his friends face new obstacles and dangers as they continue their search for the treasure. The episode begins with the Pogues continuing their search for the treasure, but they are forced to deal with a new threat in the form of Ward and Rafe Cameron, who have their own plans for the treasure and are willing to do whatever it takes to get it. As the episode progresses, the Pogues discover a new clue that leads them to a mysterious bell tower, which they believe is connected to the treasure. However, they must first deal with the many dangers and obstacles that stand in their way, including Rafe's increasingly erratic behavior and the threat of the police. Meanwhile, the relationship between John B. and Sarah continues to be tested, as they must navigate their conflicting loyalties and the dangers of their situation. They must also deal with the personal challenges and traumas that have shaped their lives and relationships. As the episode builds to its climax, the Pogues reach the bell tower and discover a shocking truth about the treasure and its connection to the Cameron family. They must then fight for their lives as they are confronted by the Camerons and the police. The episode ends with the Pogues narrowly escaping the danger of the bell tower and the threat of the police, but they must now deal with the fallout of their discoveries and the new challenges that lie ahead. Overall, Episode 9 of Outer Banks continues to build the suspense and drama surrounding the treasure hunt, while also exploring the personal relationships and challenges of the characters. The episode ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the audience eager to see what happens next. In Episode 10 of the Netflix show Outer Banks, titled The Phantom, the Pogues finally reach the climax of their search for the treasure and must face their biggest challenge yet. The episode begins with the Pogues recovering from the events of the previous episode, but they soon realize that they must continue their search for the treasure and face their enemies head-on. They must also deal with the fallout of their discoveries and the personal challenges that threaten to tear them apart. As the episode progresses, the Pogues make their way to the location where they believe the treasure is hidden, but they must first deal with a series of obstacles and dangers, including the police and the Camerons. They also discover a shocking truth about the treasure and its connection to the history of the Outer Banks. Meanwhile, the relationship between John B. and Sarah is tested once again, as they must navigate their conflicting loyalties and the danger of their situation. They must also confront their own personal demons and past traumas. As the episode builds to its climax, the Pogues reach the location of the treasure and face a final showdown with their enemies. They must fight for their lives and the future of the Outer Banks, as they uncover the truth behind the treasure and its connection to their families and their community. The episode ends with the Pogues narrowly escaping the danger of the treasure hunt and the threat of their enemies, but they must also deal with the aftermath of their discoveries and the personal challenges that lie ahead. Overall, Episode 10 of Outer Banks brings the treasure hunt to a thrilling conclusion while exploring the personal relationships and challenges of the characters. The episode ends on a satisfying note, but also leaves the audience eager to see what happens next in the lives of the Pogues.